Hey, what's up? It's Isaiah. Welcome back to the Odd Shopper YouTube channel. Today I'm going to break down this weekend's NASCAR race at Pocono. Last weekend, we were at New Hampshire, which is my home track. Love it to death. Did not go as well as I had hoped, unfortunately. We did not hit our outright on either Team Hendrick or Kyle Larson. They ran pretty well. Larson finished P3. He just didn't have the best car. No one could really catch up with Martin Truex Jr. That's the first loss in the new short track package for Hendrick Motorsports. That's kind of a big deal. I had Hendrick as the front runner for the championship because of their dominance at those short flat ovals like Phoenix Raceway, where the championship race is held. But Joe Gibbs Racing might be catching up. So Hendrick has got a little bit of work to do to regain the advantage they seemingly had earlier in the year. So we still got a lot to talk about in this week. I'm going to talk about the race preview. Obviously, we're going to go through our picks for the weekend. We've got to talk about BetMGM and Odd Shopper Insider Access, which is the only way you can get access to my full NASCAR betting cards. We got a lot to get into. Let's get started with the race preview. It's the High Point 400 at Pocono Raceway, the Tricky Triangle. Pocono is a 2.5-mile triangle. It's a relatively flat track. There is only one corner with double-digit banking, and that is, I think, turn one, which is also the tightest. So drivers have to handle each corner differently at this track. They all are at different angles. They're all at different bankings. A guy who has a really good car in turn one might have the worst car off the exit of turn three. So it's a really weird track. It's hard to find a setup that really plays to all of the track's different components, which means there's no real comparator on this Cup Series schedule. So instead, I've devised a 4-track formula to get us all the factors that I want. We are looking at the average driver ratings from Charlotte, Gateway, New Hampshire, and Nashville, all of which took place after May. So we're not leaning too heavily on the early events from the schedule. We're also, again, why are we looking at those tracks specifically? Well, first of all, we're looking at Charlotte and Nashville for high-end top speed because there are long straightaways going into each of Pocono's corners. Second, we're looking at Gateway and NHMS for braking because those tracks also feature pretty long corners, or pretty long straightaways, but they have very flat, tight corners. Third, we're looking at Nashville and NHMS for some tire fall off as well. Those are the 4 comparator tracks that I want to have in here. If you look at last year's results, well, let's get into it. If we look at last year's results, only 6 drivers had an average driver rating of 100 plus across the 4 comparator tracks that I just identified. This list included the original top 3 finishers at Pocono. I say original because the actual, or not the actual, but the original top 3 finishers were, in order, Denny Hamlin, Kyle Busch, and Chase Elliott. Hamlin and Kyle Busch were disqualified for illegal modifications to their cars. So Chase Elliott won the race without leading a lap, which is a little crazy, but that's what happened. So only 6 drivers had an average driver rating of 100 plus across the 4 comparator tracks. That includes the 3 of Denny Hamlin, Kyle Busch, and Chase Elliott, as well as 3 other guys who all recorded driver ratings above 89. So everyone who ran well at the 4 comparator tracks and posted a good to great driver rating across them did fairly, if not very well, at Pocono. This year, only 4 drivers recorded an average driver rating of 100 plus across the 4 identified tracks, 2 of whom are Toyota drivers, Denny Hamlin and Martin Truex Jr. Tyler Reddick ranks 5th in average driver rating across the events, and Christopher Bell ranks 10th. There is also only 1 Chevy driver in the top 4, and that's surprisingly William Byron, not Kyle Larson. So what does all this mean for you? Well, let's look at the team and manufacturer odds over at BetMGM. As you can see, we can get Toyota at plus 150, which I am a absolute huge fan of doing. Let's do some math real quick. So plus 150, that's 40%. Let's add up the outright odds for the Toyota drivers. You've got MTJ and Hamlin, who are co-favorites over here. Okay, they moved the odds a little bit over here at BetMGM. Hamlin is obviously the bigger favorite, slightly over Truex. When I did the math originally, they were even. Regardless, MTJ and Hamlin roughly had odds of 15.4% implied, which that adds up to already 30. And then we have 4 other guys. We have Christopher Bell and Tyler Reddick, who have implied odds of 6.7%. Then you have Bubba Wallace and Ty Gibbs, who have 3.5 and 2.7% implied odds, which gives us a greater than 50% chance for a Toyota to win based on the current outright markets. Obviously, there's a lot of hold baked into that, so that's not really what the actual odds are. But I think we're getting more than enough edge relative to the market to take advantage of the plus 150 on Toyota to win at Pocono this weekend because, again, we're getting that gives us access to Denny Hamlin, who is the winningest active driver at Pocono, as well as MTJ, who's probably the hottest driver in the sport. as far as recent performance goes. So yeah, I'm a huge fan of that play. Before we get into the next picks, I want to talk a little bit about BetMGM and OddsShopper Insider Access. If you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, that's actually great news. When you sign up with the link provided below and you place your first bet over there, you can get 2 free months of OddsShopper Insider Access, which again is the only way to get access to my full NASCAR betting cards. However, there are a ton of other perks. You get to hang out with us and sweat some bets in real time. You get access to all of our live bets that we can't do in video or article format. It's also a lot more easy to navigate than all of the different types of content that I'm putting out, articles, videos, etc. Same goes for other content creators. It's a lot easier to just get all of our picks in one place for a given day than have to worry about everything else. So you get some bonus bet offers at BetMGM. You get 2 free months of OddsShopper Insider Access. It's a great deal, and you can get it by using code OSInsider. However, if you have already signed up for BetMGM, there's still a way you can take advantage of OddsShopper Insider Access. Simply sign up over at Stokastic.com using code ISInsider. That is IS, my initials, Insider, to get your first week of access to OddsShopper Insider Access for half off. After that, it is only $19.95. So what I recommend you do, if you already have BetMGM, unfortunately, you can't get the bonus bets, but you can still head over to OddsShopper and you can get Insider Access for half off for the first week. I recommend that you do that, tail our bets, and use the money you're making from our winning bets to pay for the Discord. It is a service that I think pays for itself. Great. Let's go back. Oh, we're already here. Let's look a little bit further down the odds board for our next pick. We're going to take Ryan Blaney at 11-1. I think this number is super, super inefficient. So our 4-track formula suggests that Blaney is getting massively slept on at this number. He owns the second best average driver rating across the 4 events, behind only Martin Truex Jr. Further, Blaney's no stranger to victory lane at the Tricky Triangle. He won in his first Truck Series start here for Brad Keselowski Racing back in 2013, back when that team still existed. He beat out then teammate, this is also a little weird, Ross Chastain, who finished 5th in the process. So he did beat some pretty talented guys to get that win. Next, he won the 99th race for Wood Brothers Racing here at Pocono in the Cup Series in 2017. It was his first Cup Series victory. He got the win by outlasting Kevin Harvick on a fuel mileage strategy. Well, that's not like the dominant best car in the field type of win. It's still a win, and it's still pretty impressive that he pulled it off. Each of the other drivers in our 4-driver short list have odds of 9-1 or shorter. The full short list is Truex at 6-1, Hamlin at 5-1, and Byron at 9-1. So yeah, Blaney at 11-1 when he has the second best average rating across those 4 tracks. Yeah, let me take advantage of that for sure. Ford's struggles with top end speed are probably the main explanation for why Blaney is all the way down here at 11-1. You don't see Logano until 16-1, and then Keselowski at 30-1. And when you look at team manufacturer odds, you see Ford is at plus 260. So it is clearly at a bit of a disadvantage when compared to the rest of the manufacturers. However, we're still taking advantage of this price because, number one, they had a lot of top-end speed at Charlotte. Remember that. That's part of why Blaney does so well in this metric, is because he dominated at the Coca-Cola 600 this year. So, yeah, absolutely. I think that's a great deal. It's a good line to take advantage of. Smash that line until it disappears, honestly. He could qualify very well. Blaney's very good at qualifying. It really could go away before qualifying or after qualifying happens. All right, our last pick for today. We're not going to do another outright. I've already given you a team outright and a driver outright. We're going to do another prop. We're actually up to 3-1 on the video props, so I'm a fan of them. I think they're doing pretty well. The Discord has an extra outright, but if you want to get that, then I already talked about how you can get that. Cool. So our prop, Denny Hamlin, right? I was talking about him earlier. He is the winningest active driver at Pocono with 6 wins. He's also the active leader in laps led here. I think he won his first 2 starts here in the Cup Series as a rookie, which is super impressive. He is at FanDuel Sportsbook lined up against Kyle Busch on the outright markets, which I think is a bit of a mistake. I mean, Hamlin and Joe Gibbs Racing are probably the second best team in NASCAR, like the team itself. Like Joe Gibbs Racing is the second best team behind Hendrick Motorsports. Kyle Busch and Richard Childress Racing are pretty good, but they're not great. I mean, you've seen them just unload with absolutely no speed before, like they did last weekend at New Hampshire, which bodes poorly for Kyle Busch's performance in our 4-race algorithm type deal. Hamlin only finished ahead of Busch twice in those 4 races, but he crashed out at Charlotte, which skews the data, and he had lead laps early in the race, so he was running pretty well. Hamlin ranks 4th with an average driver rating of 102.4. across the 4 events. Busch is in 8th at 89.6, and yet this matchup market is almost a toss-up. If you look at the odds, I think it's minus 118 for Hamlin to clear Busch at FanDuel. It's a little bit north of even for sure, but I think it's worth paying the juice to take advantage of that line. I think I'd put 0.6 units on that, which is enough to profit just over a half unit. I'm a big fan of that deal. I don't think that market will be available after qualifying. I think that Kyle Busch will probably unload with less speed than the market anticipates, given that he is currently trading as the third best driver for this event. Oh, I saw the MTJ line moved again. That's interesting. But yeah, so I am a big fan of fading Kyle Busch this week. I think the best way to do it is to take advantage of him on the matchup market against Denny Hamlin. Alrighty, let me pull this odds board out of here and go through our recap. So first, Toyota. We are betting on the entire Toyota camp to get a win this weekend at odds of plus 150 or 40%. I would personally put that around 50%, and that's where the books are actually putting it when you do the math on the implied odds for all the drivers that Toyota has entered in the race. We're also going to back Blaney at odds of 11-1. I think that's a misprice. He is the second best average driver rating across the 4 comparator tracks I identified. He should easily contend for a win, and even if he doesn't, he'll be up at the front of the field. And with how all the restarts have been going lately, he just needs a little bit of luck and late race chaos to pull off the win. Lastly, our prop for the weekend is Hamlin versus Kyle Busch at odds of minus 118. All right, that's going to do it for this week's video. I hope I make you some money. And as always, if you found this content useful, please like and subscribe, and I will catch you next weekend.